Okay, hi. In this video, I'll be walking you through the procedures for how to complete the first of our two, what we typically call take-home exams. So exam one, this is going to be, at this point in the semester, testing or you demonstrating your knowledge of the topics that we've discussed uh, up till this time. So um, please note this is a take-home exam. So in other words, obviously in an online class, most of you are already home, as am I. But basically, the idea being that you're not taking this in a standard kind of exam format where you're coming into a classroom, being handed an exam, being proctored while you're taking it. You're given the opportunity to work on this at your own pace and time, convenient to your schedule. Again, you're also not being supervised. So I'm asking that the following conditions are understood and that everyone agrees to these. Basically, we have a due date for this exam. It is posted, obviously, in the course schedule as well as in the Dropbox to which you'll be submitting this. This absolutely has to be done by that date. So late submissions will be penalized at minus 20% of the total points for this um, grade item. So again, the Dropbox is the way that you will submit this. If you have any questions about how to do that, you're free to email me. But basically, in the exam one module, you will see a Dropbox. So I suggest that you open up a Word document, compose your answers in that, and then submit it to the Dropbox. There are other ways of going about it. Word is generally the easiest. Again, if you're having any issues, please contact me. Please don't wait till the last minute so that your submission won't be late. Again, you should work on this independently. I mean, alone. Showing it or discussing it with other people unless specified in one of the questions, as well as collaborating with other students in the course, either current or students who have been in the course in the past. Please do not submit your um, questions to a discussion board or chat room. Again, use of Chat GPT is not allowed in this. So you are, again, demonstrating to me your understanding of the assignments or the questions as they're presented. Um, you can refer to sources. You can refer to the text. You can refer to lectures. You can refer to any of the resources that are listed in any of the modules that are pertinent to the uh, materials that we're presenting. It is not necessarily, as long as you're not copying and pasting anything, that you provide any citations. So this is different than a discussion board. And what I would prefer is that your composition not be comprised of direct quotes from other sources. Again, that's difficult to gauge how much of this you uh, uh, comprehend or demonstrate that you understand this material when you do that. However, if you do find it necessary or would like to support something with a direct quote, again, cite it as we would in a discussion board. However, citations are not a required part of the grading for this assignment. Again, if you use sources outside the text, lectures, again, please cite. And of course, if you are using direct quotes, they have to be identified as such to avoid plagiarism. Okay? So again, by accepting this assignment, you're agreeing to these conditions and terms, and anything that would violate any of those conditions or terms, please may be discovered or regarded as academic dishonesty. So please don't do any of that. So basically, there's 5 questions. They're each worth 10 points. And basically, I just review them and grade them on a scale of whether or not you've done an excellent job, good job, fair job, poor job, or haven't completed them at all. The rubric is posted in the module, so you're welcome to check that out. So for each of these questions, again, please identify which question you can either write the discussion question in yourself, or if you just want to identify it by its number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's totally fine. So I'm going to go over each of the questions here, and again, if you have any questions, you're free to post them on the exam one discussion board, or you can contact me directly. So our first question, and I start off with a quote from our text, right? It says, basically, a phenomenon does not become a phenomenon because of its inherent badness. It becomes a social phenomenon because of the factors external to the phenomenon itself, namely the social structure and the social movement organization. This is clearly from our first module lectures. Please explain that statement in your own words. So again, I'm asking you to paraphrase what our question, or basically how a social problem becomes a social problem, using an original example. So when I say original, please none of the examples that you've either used in previous discussion boards or that we used in the lectures, right? So just a new example that demonstrates your understanding of how something becomes a social problem. Also, what are some of the drawbacks and advantages to this process of identifying social problems? And please list two of each. So in other words, two advantages, two disadvantages to how we go about identifying social problems. Okay, so that's question one. Question two, define critical constructionism. Please be sure how to note how the sociological perspectives of both symbolic interactionism and conflict theory contribute to this formation. Again, we're going back to the materials we covered in Module 1. Using an example of a social problem other than the ones that have been presented in the text or lectures, please demonstrate an application of critical constructionism. You may use the example that you used in question 1. That would be fine with me. So again, you don't have to come up with a brand new example if you want to use the example that you did come up with in question 1 to exemplify how critical constructionism, as we've defined it in class, would explain that phenomenon. Okay, question 3. Wealth is concentrated in fewer hands than at any time in our past and fewer hands than any other modern democracy tolerates. Again, a quote from our textbook. Please examine, in your own words, how this state of affairs came into being in the United States, the fact of wealth inequality. Again, a very important topic that we talked about in one of our earlier modules. Please be sure to include the following concepts and terms. So you should mention these, in other words, demonstrate your understanding of them by using them to explain wealth inequality. Things like the Gini coefficient, trickle-down economics, wealth inequality, tax regression, discretionary spending, and shareholder capitalism. Again, all things that we've discussed either in lectures or in the text, and you can explain to us how we got to this point of this massive wealth inequality in our society. Question 4 comes in a couple different parts here. We want to explain, or I'd like you to explain, how colonialism, as we've discussed in our modules, allowed the global north, generally the wealthiest nations in the world, to establish domination of the global south, what's also sometimes colloquially referred to as third world nations, and describe what advantages this has given the global north. So in other words, why is the global north dominant, the nations of the global north dominant over the global south, and how has specifically colonialism contributed to that. I've included a video in this module called Milton Friedman on Colonialism. Again, we've discussed Milton Friedman. He was a very, very, very prominent economist, and he has a video in which he discusses colonialism, in which he makes the argument that the nations that were once colonies are now worse off than after gaining independence, and that the colonizing nations have not greatly benefited from having colonies. Now, this flies up in the face of what we talked about. So we're examining an argument against something that we've talked about in class. So after having viewed the video and seen his discussions regarding this, do you agree or disagree with Dr. Friedman, and why? Okay, just a little bit of an explanation about why you either agree with him or disagree with him. And then the third part to question 4 is discuss the role that foreign debt has established in what might be called neo-colonialism. Again, a new form of colonialism in the global south. And then how do the interests of multinational corporations affect our foreign policy in our society? Okay, so that's question 4. And then question 5, please choose one of the following. These are 4 factors that we've talked about regarding life chances. So please choose one of them: race, gender, education, or healthcare. And discuss in detail, okay, how this socially constructed category or social institution influences an individual's life chances. And you can use yourself or your own personal experiences as an example, and please give 3 examples. Okay. So as we can see, We're not covering any new ground here in this exam. These are all things that we've been discussing throughout the course of the semester to date. And what I would like you to do is please demonstrate to me your comprehension of what we've covered in the course of this at this time. So, and again, please then submit the document to the Dropbox before the stated deadline. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to post on the Exam 1 discussion board. Okay, thanks and good luck.